two movements from the sequence that we do. So the sequence, just to recap, it starts with a knife close to my body. I'm trying not to give any opening where my opponent can under or over my arm and trap the knife. So from this position, our first two movements is 1, 2. Now these movements are to slash our way open towards the body. Our intention, if we're using a knife for fighting, is to get the pointy end sticking inside our opponent. So when we're moving 1, 2, the idea is to clear the limbs so that we can come in for some stabbing. So you have to keep that in mind, why we are doing these movements. So let's look at our opponent. I'm at home and I hear a noise in my house, and the first thing I grab is maybe a knife. So at this point I can have the knife this way around or this way around. That I'll leave up to you for this training. Now, right, let's look at the first two movements from our sequence. The sequence starts with a knife by our side or against our leg to prevent our opponent from getting a hold of our arm. So we want our weapon away from our opponent until we engage. Then we're going to step forward, 1, 2, and the sequence would continue forward until we've gone through the whole sequence, which covers all the different angles. But we're only interested in the first two movements. And what you have to try and understand is that these two movements are purely there to open the gap, to give us access to the body which we want to stab. So when I'm doing this, that's not cutting into my opponent's body, it's cutting my opponent's limbs. I want to clear the limbs so that I can get in and do stabbing, because that's my intention, to put the pointy end of the knife into my opponent. So let's assume that you woke up and you hear a noise in your house, and the first thing you have access to is a decent knife. Now, various ways of gripping it. You can have the ice pick grip, you can have the bayonet grip. Today we're looking at the bayonet grip. So why would I start this? Let's look at our opponent. First of all, it's in the house, it's maybe dark. I don't know where my opponent is. So my knife is going to be close to my body. So as I'm walking around, I have the knife close to me and my hand out, and I'm trying to find out where this person is that's making a noise in my house. If it's a burglar, if it's a raccoon, whatever, I need to find out what's going on. So I don't want to stick the knife out and have the knife grabbed. So, step one, we hold it close to our body, we have our left hand out as a shield, we're kind of looking around. Once we engage with the opponent, two things. One, we might surprise the opponent might surprise us. Preferable, we surprising the opponent. So, if this person is in my house and my hand's out, and I see this person here, depending on the situation, you might start the attack or you might start a conversation. That I'm going to leave up to you. Whatever is the best thing to do in that situation. So I might see my opponent in front of me and go, hey, what are you doing in my house? Why are you here? My opponent starts to engage. The moment my opponent engages, I'm going to come forward and I'm going to attack. If my opponent's arms are in the way, which I'm assuming, grabbing my arm, engaging with the arm, I'm going to start slashing at my opponent's limbs so that I can get through, deliver a stab, phone the police, and have the law sort out the rest. So again, I'm surprising my opponent. If I'm a ninja, I might surprise my opponent and just stab, but just remember then, you're going to have a lot of explaining to do as to why didn't you first engage with this person, why did you just start stabbing, which is fair enough. So, find the person, go, hey, what's going on here? Why are you in my house? I don't know what the situation is. Why you in your imagination now has a knife, but you're holding your hand out, you engage with the opponent, going, get out, leave my house, whatever. Person engages, tries to grab my arm, maybe there's a bit of a confrontation here, and I start slashing at my opponent's arms to open up the gap to stab. Right. So now let's look at my reaction if I'm the person who has invaded someone's house and is being threatened now with a knife. Unlikely that I won't have any weapons, but let's assume I don't have weapons. So from here, my reaction is going to be to grab the arm, to engage the person, to try and hit, to try and kick, but to attack this person in front of me. I'm assuming that's why I broke into the house, is to ruin this person's life. So my arms will be up. For this person to just stab will give me access to the arm, which I might be able to grab, which I might be able to grapple with. So my opponent doesn't stab, my opponent starts slashing at me, so I'm going to go and I'm going to engage the closest limb to me. I'm going to grab that arm, I'm going to pull my opponent closer, and that then gives this person access to either start stabbing or to cutting, or to engage by cutting away the limbs that is in their way. So if this person has the knife here and I don't have a weapon, I'd be engaging. So I'd be faced with the left arm, I need to deal with that, and my opponent starts stabbing and cutting. If I have a knife as well, I might immediately move in to start attacking. So now we get to a different situation from me as the victim that needs to go and sort out this burglar in my house. The burglar has a weapon and engages with the weapon immediately. At that point in time, I have no option. My arm's in the way. Remember then, if the opponent has an arm, make sure it's the back of the arm that gets cut. This isn't going to be any less painful, but hopefully you're not bleeding out immediately. So this is like a very, very, very small silver lining to a very dark cloud. Try and keep the back of your arm out. Have them grab that, have them cut that, and you engage. Hopefully you cut more vital points. So from here, once your opponent engages with a knife, you have to engage as well and move in, cut, and stab. So again, your opponent starts cutting at you, maybe you cut their arm if you're quick enough, cut the arm out the way, and stab. If your opponent has a panga, or a longer range weapon, at that point, if you see that this is, we're now not talking about a firearm, we're talking about a weapon that is, the length of a panga, I wouldn't wait. At that point, I'm sorry, but then my opponent has a longer range weapon. For me to try and engage now, terrible strategic move. My opponent has the weapon, so I'm going in and I'm cutting the limb that is holding the weapon. So if my opponent has the weapon, I'm immediately going in and I'm trying to cut and disable the limb that was holding the weapon, and then I'm going to try and stab. So again, understand, I want to be cutting that limb, releasing the grip on that weapon, moving in, cutting, and then stabbing. Again, the stab is our ultimate goal. If my opponent has a firearm and all I have is a knife, I brought a knife to a gunfight, don't engage verbally. This is going to, if this is at night and someone's in your house with a gun, then no, don't try and talk yourself out of it. Move in, again, try and cut the limb that has the weapon, clear a space open to the body, and stab. Phone the police, phone the ambulance, and then sort out whatever legal issues are afterwards. But Now we're getting to a point where if this is a firearm, I'm not going to stand here with my knife and try and discuss with a person why he's in my house at 2 o'clock at night. So at this point in time, if I surprise my opponent, I see the gun in my opponent's hand, I will try and maybe cut that limb and go in for a stab or two and then try and sort it out via police and ambulance. Right, so this is all theoretical. Let's now move on and look at some things that could happen with my friend Sensei Harvey.